England Ford Patriots fifth quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. No miracles on 34th Street for the Patriots today. They're out in Kansas City. You may remember that game. It was about a half hour ago, and then they interrupted it with the continuing coverage of San Diego and Washington. But the Patriots losing 26-16, pretty much totally being dominated by Kansas City throughout the first half and through much of the second half. But anyway, Steve Diassi, Scott Zolak, Bob Newmeyer are here to discuss things, and Steve Burton's out in Kansas City. And gentlemen, some comments on this one early.
Well, I mean, for my money, Bob, this is the continued futility of the Patriot defense. I mean, statistically, and these aren't opinions, these are just facts, they came in with the worst third down defense in the NFL, the second worst defense in yards per play, the second worst defense in yards per game, and they showed why today with a futile performance. And I think what's most damaging about this game, people have talked about the secondary, and they are inept, but the way Kansas City just devastated the Patriots' interior seven, the nose guard, the people inside, Vrabel and Bruschi with Larry Johnson, has to be disheartening for Bill Belichick, Bob. I mean, this was Kansas City moving the ball at will when they wanted and where they wanted. And I think that was the difference in the game. You talk about the Brady interceptions all you want, but to me it's the poor defense this year.
I'll let Zoe deal with the Brady interceptions.
You talk about getting manhandled, flip it over to the other side, the offensive side. You look how they struggled up front to protect Tom Brady. But Brady did have his worst game in some years that I could remember. He was very high on a lot of the throws. That either happens through three things. Either one, you're losing grip on the football. Two, you're not seeing things well. I don't think that's the problem with him. I think it's number three. That's where you don't have the trust in certain receivers, guys like Tim Dwight, guys like Andre Davis, to be in the spots that maybe a David Givens, a Troy Brown, or a Deion Branch are. And I think that's the problem right there.
Well, Steve Diassi, Kansas City, they were a desperate team. They desperately needed to win this game today. The Patriots not quite as desperate because of the division they're in, but desperate teams do desperate things, like usually win at home.
This game meant a lot more to Kansas City. They had to keep pace with Denver and San Diego. They didn't know how the San Diego game was going to turn out, but when you look at what the Patriots did, the one thing that they were very poor at was red zone defense, and that was the only thing that actually kept them in the game for the first half. They made some good plays down in the red zone, were able to hold Kansas City to 4 field goals instead of what should have been at least 2 touchdowns. This game could have been over in the first half. As it was over. It wasn't over until late in the fourth quarter.
Okay, we're going to deal right now with the Heineken Red Star play of the game. It'll be preceded by an interference call on Ellis Hobbs, and it would be the touchdown pass. But the interference call, first of all, takes place, and it sets up Kansas City.
This would look like kind of a bogus call to me. I mean, this is one play where he looked like he had pretty good position. I think that was a legal chuck there, and where's the interference? I don't
it's not like he's wrapping his right arm around the backside. That's why I asked Steve when he came in, do you think this was here? I mean, but it is, the game's played in Kansas City, and you're going to get these calls, especially if it's that close.
And then it was the play of the game.
Body contact. I didn't see it on that play.
I didn't see the arm wrapped around. Usually that's what happens when a guy comes in and bats with his opposing hand. Usually has his offhand wrapped around the body somehow.
Well, Green, 52-yard touchdown pass to Dante Hall with Hobbs covering. And that made it 26-3 in the third, and of course, that was a big hill to climb after that.
About 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, the Chiefs had 370 yards of total offense. 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, they had 370 yards of a total offense. And, they had this guy, Sammy Parker, that came into the game with 11 catches. He had 5 catches today. For the season, Bob, he had 11 catches. He had 5 catches today. He looked like Jerry Rice all of a sudden.
Well, we knew that Kansas City was going to put some yards up and quite possibly some points. But what we were counting on in this game was the Patriots' ability to score points, and they couldn't do it when they needed to do it. They could not keep pace. Kansas City moves the ball up and down on everybody except Buffalo this year. The fact is that the offense was not in position to make plays this week.
Well, killed it. Whenever they got to stop, the next thing you know, you had the offense, they come in, next thing you know, 3 and out. At the end of the first half, he had 25 yards rushing, 17 of it from Tim Dwight on ends around. I mean, you can't have that. 7 total yards from Heath Evans and Patrick Pass in the first half. What did we say in the pregame? We said they had to run the ball for at least 85, 90 yards for them to have a chance today. If they rush from anywhere 50 or less, you're going to lose the football game, and that's what happened. As good as that defense was in the red zone.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll go down to Kansas City, or perhaps out to Kansas City, and Bill Belichick's post-game press conference. Fifth quarter here on CBS 4 continues.
Star Play of the Game is brought to you by Heineken. Heineken, it's all about the beer. Visit enjoyheinekenresponsibly.com.
Guests on New England Ford Patriots fifth quarter receive a gift certificate to Milton's, the store for men. At Milton's, you'll be as comfortable in their stores as you will be in their clothes.
Welcome back to New England Ford Patriots fifth quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
All right, the Patriots are now one game above 500, but certainly in control of the division. Let's go down to Kansas City and Steve Burton, who's there live. Stephen?
All right, Bob, thank you very much. Patriots end up losing this game 26-16. Of course, when you have 4 turnovers, this game could have been a lot worse. Tom Brady had his worst game as a Patriot in quite some time. Bill Belichick just had his press conference. It was short, and he said, of course, you can't spot a team a 26-3 lead. Check out Belichick.
Well, it's pretty much a replay of the Denver game. You know, we spotted them too big a lead early. Too much to make up against a good team, and just got too far out in front too early, and it was just too far to come back from. So, really, it's. I don't know what else to say. That's about it.
Has Brady struggled like that before this season? He really seemed off.
Well, we didn't play well enough. So that guy goes across the board. Play well enough on offense, didn't play well enough on defense, didn't play well enough on special teams. So didn't need to do a better job of coaching. So I think it's across the board.
Was there anything that you tried to do to get more pressure on Green? It seems as if he was able to stand back there a bit, get things fired.
Yeah, well, we didn't do enough to slow him down offensively, so that was obvious.
You mentioned the coaching. Was it hard for you to get back into it late in the week like that to that effect? What happened out there today?
No, we just got to do a better job, period. No.
Well, you kept them to field goals, which I guess kind of kept you in the game despite they're rolling up big yards. You had to take some comfort in that, thinking you could overcome that deficit, considering that they were getting 3s, not 7.
Well, it's 26-3. You know, it's a lot to make up against a team like this. So it's just too much.
Of course, how difficult was getting a running game going? And missing Corey
we didn't do a good job offensively. We didn't do a good job defensively. I mean, it wasn't anything that was good enough. So I'm not going to sit here and say it was. It wasn't.
Coach, could you comment on Russ Holstein playing a new position for you and moving in, and it seems like doing a good job for you? Right?
He's played there before. He's practiced there, played there for 2 or 3 years. So, and that's everybody's got a job to do. Russ is called on to do it. That's what he's prepared to do. That's what he should do.
What do you think about them today, the Chiefs, as far as
played better than we did?
Yeah. What are your impressions of Johnson? Player Johnson?
He runs like he always does. That's the way he's been run. He runs hard.
Does this underscore how small the margin for error is for you guys offensively? I mean, defensively, you've been up against it for more than a month now, but offensively,
we didn't play well enough, and I don't know how many times I keep saying it, but we spot a team a 26-3 lead in the third quarter. It's just like Denver. Spot them a 28-3 lead, on the road. I mean, you're not going to win a lot of games against a quality football team, which the Chiefs are, which Denver was. So we got to find a way to make it a little more competitive than that. Anything else?
You think you can bring Tom out here?
Well, that was Patriots head coach Bill Belichick, and joining me now is Michael Felger. And Patriots are now 6-5, still in first place, but they're walking out of here with their heads down.
No, I think it's the same situation that a lot of us felt this team was in going into this game, and that is the best team of a bad division that is going to be hard-pressed to win on the road in the playoffs and maybe even win a playoff game. I thought this was a great test for them. If they'd come into this game and beaten this team after all the things that went on with Belichick and the coaching during the week, I'd walk out of here and say, okay, maybe I need to take this team a little bit more seriously. But after they got smoked, no,
Which is what you said in the pregame show. So, but what are you saying? Are you saying the Patriots can't beat good teams now?
Not on the road. Not the way they play right there. I mean, do you think they could play like that and go into Denver and beat Denver, or go play like that and go into Indy and beat Indy?
Well, they haven't yet. So
no way. And I think, I think it's time to stop blaming the injuries on defense. That defense right now, it's a fairly healthy team. I mean, Rodney Harrison's the one guy that's gone. Otherwise, look at the lineup they came into here last year on Monday night with. Held the Chiefs to 19 points and won that game. This defensive lineup right now isn't that much different than the defensive line.
The defensive secondary is a beat up. I mean, you can't say you're a healthy team.
Steve, last year
you're missing your quarterback back on defense, Michael.
Their starting corners last year were Orthman Moreland and Randall Gay, rookie free agent, and a guy from way off the street, and they still beat this team. Yes, Rodney Harrison's the single biggest injury, but don't tell me that's the difference between getting smoked and beating this team. I mean, it's more than that. I don't think the players are playing well enough. I don't think the coaches are coaching well enough.
How much missing Belichick, how much of a factor was that this week? You asked him that question.
Yeah, hard to tell.
He downplayed it all, but how much do you think that was a factor?
Well, I was just talking to the players, too, and they all downplayed it as well. I guess we won't really know. I didn't love the play calling. I thought there was a lack of aggressiveness, especially in the fourth quarter. They're down 16 points to open the fourth quarter, and they're handing the ball off. And
they gave that one play to Heath Evans coming around in on like 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 3.
I thought, I'd love to see them open a game for once in the 2-minute drill and the hurry up. See a little bit more of Charlie Weiss. We all watched Charlie Weiss last night in Notre Dame, and we watched the Patriots offense, and you watch the Patriots, and you wonder where that offense has gone.
Quarterback Tom Brady, why do you think his throws were so high? Because Brady was sailing the ball today. Now, a couple of those interceptions weren't his fault. They were in and out of the hands of receivers, but a few of them, a lot of high balls today for quarterback Tom Brady.
Yeah, people are going to be wondering, is this his worst game ever? And statistically, no. By the quarterback rating, no. The worst game is still the 2003 season opener in Buffalo when his quarterback rating was 22.5. Today it was 42.5. So I thought he just had a bad game, and I don't get why. It wasn't like he was pressured that badly. Yes, certainly on a few plays he felt the pressure, but there were some plays where he was wide open, had an open lane, and just airmailed the ball. The second interception where he overthrew Troy Brown, maybe Troy could have had that ball, but still, that was a bad ball, and he missed Ben Watson wide open in the end zone. He just made some throws today that we weren't used to seeing. Why? Maybe it was just a bad day, but I mean, I think that Brady was a big factor in this loss, absolutely.
And Brady is normally known for his accuracy. He's a pretty accurate quarterback. Some days you're going to, and we're not used to seeing this. That's just it.
No question about it.
Shows the human side of Tom Brady.
And maybe that's where the coaching thing sort of played in. Now, with Bill gone, you know that Tom during the week is putting more on his shoulders in terms of the studying and the coaching and the on-field thing. So maybe that distracts him, and it's just it spreads him thin across the board. And when it comes time to play, he's physically not exactly where he needs to be on Sunday because mentally during the week he's stretched himself. I mean, maybe that's a legitimate thing to ask.
All right, we are waiting on Patriot quarterback Tom Brady, so we'll ask him those questions. In the meantime, we'll go back to Bob Lobel. Bob?
Okay, you guys, we're going to take a break and urge you once again to vote for Player of the Game. Go on to CBS4Boston.com and then vote for Player of the Game. Click it on, and there we go. CBS4Boston.com, click on Player of the Game, and you too can step up to the plate. Want some guidance in this matter? I've got no guidance in this matter.
Tim Dwight?
Sounds good to me. We'll be right back. Oh, we've changed our minds. The quarterback is in the house.
Well, you're human.
Well, it was a tough day, We just didn't execute, and it's tough when you play a good team to spot them all those points, and that's what we did, and you guess the outcome. I mean, it's just not very good.
Why do you think your throws were so high, Tom?
Just threw it high.
Not too many human trees in the way, so you have to throw it high?
You just throw it, and, the ball's a little high, and make an easy interception. It's easy interception for those guys. So, no, you don't like to see it, and I'm going to keep dropping back and throwing the ball. And, I thought, you just keep throwing them. Keep trying and keep trying to throw the ball to the open guy, and hope you can execute. And we just didn't execute very well there.
Tom, I've seen so many, not to make excuses for you or anything, but deflected balls, tipped balls, ricochet balls. It seemed like it was like maybe some of the throws are behind guys, but it just seemed like there's all kinds of crazy bounces going on in that second half.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you play quarterback, you throw the ball. I mean, those things, you just got to keep trying it. You just got to keep trying to throw it and try to complete the balls, and you don't get scared away by it. You just, you just try to make the throws. And some days it looks better than others. And, they came down with some plays. They made plays, and we didn't.
So what made them more effective in the second half than they were What changed the place between that?
I just think we were executing better, and we just didn't execute very well in the first half. We just, it was all across the board, and we didn't run it very well, didn't throw it very well. Everyone needed to be better, and we did some better things there in the second half. But similar to Denver, you just get down so many points, and you just got to be perfect. And we certainly weren't perfect today, and got to try to improve this week and get ready for next week.
When you're looking at the scoreboard, you're seeing that even though Kansas City scored a lot in the first half, there were 3s, not 6s, and it could have been a lot worse. I mean, did you feel still in this ball game?
Sure did. Defense did a great job in the red zone and limited them to 3 points. And felt if we could have made some plays there in the first half to score some touchdowns. We got down there once. We had a chance there in the 2-minute drive to get down there and score points, and they ended up giving them the ball back, and they got 3 points. And that was, a swing there. We went in half, and we're not feeling very good about the way we played, trying to go out there and execute better, and just wasn't very good execution today. I mean, there's too many plays that we should make, and we just didn't make them.
Tom, better is their defense than it was a year ago. You tore them up pretty well last year.
It's a different defense. They made some good plays out there. They have some good players, and we just didn't play very well.
Was that a hard week for you, Kevin, Bill, being out all week? Did you put anything more on your shoulders? Was there any more responsibility for you during the week? How did that all play out? Did it affect you today?
I think I wouldn't say so. I mean, he was back on Friday, and he has high expectations for us, and we really haven't played up to his level of expectations for us this year. We just haven't got it done when we needed to get it done, and that's why we're sitting here at 6-5. And we need to make some improvements. We're playing a tough game next week, and we just got to try to play better.
You mentioned 6-5. I mean, that's almost compared to these last few years. I mean, is it really kind of bizarre to be in this position, considering you lose 4 games at the most? 2 games last year.
Well, I mean, like I said this before, I mean, it's the National Football League, and you're not going to go 14-2 every year, and just try to do the best you can with what you got, and try to play good. And we've had some tough situations this year, and we just haven't gone out and played as well as we would have liked to. So, we still got a lot of goals ahead of us, and we got 4 of the next 5 against division opponents, and hopefully we play better against those teams than we did today.
What will getting Corey back next week, what will that mean to them? Obviously that has to put a lot of pressure on your passing game today, not having him.
Well, he's a Pro Bowl caliber player, so the more of those we can have on the field, the better.
Has this team's confidence been shaken at all, just losing so many people and now losing games?
Well, I just don't think we played very well. I just think we're just not playing up to the way we're expected to play. And when you're 6-5, it's not like you're going out there, thinking you're going to win every game, just showing up. And we're just not playing. We didn't play very well today, and that's why you lose the way we did. We just too many turnovers, too many missed opportunities out there, and it's frustrating as a team. It's frustrating when we sit there and we realize, we had a chance today to go 7-4 and put together a 3-game win streak, and the way we played today, it just wasn't going to happen.
Tom, do you feel much pressure back there? I mean, do you feel like you had plenty of time to throw today?
Yeah, I did. I did. I thought they have, they have a good D-line, but I thought the guys held in there pretty good and played tough and played hard. We fought to the very end, and wish we'd have made a few plays there at the end, but just unfortunate that just didn't execute the way I thought we were capable.
So you felt you had plenty of time to throw today? Did I hear you right?
Well, I mean, I'm just going back there. I'm throwing, doing the best I can, and try to drop back, and you deal with what you got. And those guys hang in there, and they play hard, and they play tough, and that's what I expect of them, and that's what they expect of me. And I'm going to stand in there, whether I got 2 seconds or 5 seconds, and try to find the open guy and throw it, and hopefully we can catch it and make yards and score points. But too many times today, I just wasn't there.
How do you think you threw it overall? How do you think you threw it overall?
Well, there's plays I'd like to have back. I mean, you'd always like to throw it right in the middle of their numbers. I mean, sometimes it's not like that. And, you'd rather have the ball batted up and incomplete than batted up and a guy fair catches it for an interception. But, that's part of playing quarterback. You you never like throwing picks, but
You feel you were off, I guess is the question.
I mean, being off this much, you just, some days those are catches, some days they're picks. You just hope they're catches.
Tom, did the atmosphere?
Sorry?
What was Kansas City doing defensively in the first half? It caused you guys a lot of problems because they were a lot of playing outside.
Yeah, they pressured us pretty good. They pressured our looks, and they got us off the field on third down. They played some coverages that we just didn't execute very well against. And third down, they play a lot of man coverage, and we had a hard time finding a guy and throwing it and catching it. And put a lot of pressure on our defense, not doing a whole lot out there. And the defense really hung in there, limited the field goals. But we stood there and made a few plays in the second half, but just too little, too late. I wouldn't say so. I just think we made a few more plays. Got the ball to Graham on one, scrambled for another. Made a few more plays on third down, trying to get guys open and trying to get guys crossing and opening up that way. Just early in the game, just had a hard time doing anything. We had a hard time throwing, blocking, running, catching. It was all around the board. So, thanks, guys.
Okay, hard time doing anything, losing 26-16, falling to 6-5, but very much in control of the division. When we come back, we'll take a look at the schedule, along with Bob Newmeyer, Scott Solak, and Steve Diassi. While they are here and available to us, we'll take a look at the schedule and take a look at all the playoff contenders and how it's starting to shake out, especially for the Patriots. We'll be right back, and don't forget, player of the game.
Bill Belichick's postgame news conference is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts. Bring yourself back. Back to New England Ford Patriots fifth quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers. Home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
Here you go. Starting next Sunday at 4:15, the Jets are in town. Then in Buffalo, Tampa Bay. It's the Saturday game on the 17th before Christmas weekend, and the day after Christmas down in the Meadowlands, Monday night game, and then the Dolphins on New Year's Day. So, gentlemen, we don't know a whole lot more than we did before we started this game today, because this is what they are. This is who they are, and this is how they play. And there hasn't been much of an uptick one way or the other.
Well, I think that what people had hoped, Bob, with that was the interior seven would improve. The secondary has been a disaster all year, and there's really no help on the way. But when Bruschi came back and Seymour came back on the field, you had to figure that maybe that element of the game would improve. But the way Larry Johnson torched this team at the point of attack, and granted the Chiefs have a big, tough, physical offensive line, but they were powerless to stop it. And I think that that's what's must concern Belichick, Bob, is not just his secondary now, but against a quality team with a good running game, they couldn't do anything about it. Kansas City moved the ball at will against this team. You can talk all you want about AFC's champions, but I don't know how any Patriot fan can feel good about their club right now. Who can they beat in the playoffs? Home, away, in a parking lot, on an airfield? Where?
Well, we sit here and try and go over the Rodney Harrison factor and how much does Rodney Harrison mean to this football team, and it becomes more and more evident each and every week, not only against the pass, but like you said, Bob, the run. I think we took it for granted how much this guy took it upon himself to come up inside that box and be able to read the run, to be able to get that hit when you couldn't get it up front in front four. But what this conference, this AFC East, has become, it's become the new NFC West, that St. Louis Ram, the Seattle Seahawk, San Francisco 49ers, whoever doesn't want to be in this one is backing into the playoffs. That's what you're getting here. But the bottom line is they can't go on the road and, like you said, Bob, beat that playoff caliber team. This team, in essence, is going to be a first round knockout the way they're playing football right now.
What you have to do in this situation is look at those last 5 games, find a way to get on a roll going into the playoffs, not concern yourself with the fact that you haven't beaten these playoff teams, because once the playoffs come around, it's a different game. And the Patriots have the most playoff experience of anybody in this league. But what happens is you win one game, you win 2, you lose 1, you lose 2. You can't can't go like that into the playoffs. You have to get on a roll. You have to start putting some wins back to back. And with that schedule, you could easily see this team going 4-1, maybe even 5-0. But then again, you can look at them and say, go 3-2 in this last 5 games. You don't want to lose one of those last 2 games going into the playoffs.
And what we're banking on here is guys like Kevin Falk, Matt Light, Corey Dillon coming back. The problem is not one of those guys from the secondary is coming back. Rodney Harrison's not coming back. Randall Gay, you can't bank on him. He's on injured reserve. There's nobody. There's no light at the end of the tunnel for this team in the secondary, and that's where the problem lies, because no matter how good you are up front, like you said, teams could still dice you for 350
You're gonna have to win.
with average guys. I mean, that was a pretty good quarterback today. Trent Green's as accurate as you get. I mean, Gus Frerotte did it. Aaron Brooks was doing it. What's going to happen if they have to face Carson Palmer first round in the playoffs here at Gillette Stadium? It's not going to be pretty.
Well, you mentioned the playoffs. Let's go to these playoff contenders here in the list of Indianapolis is not on this list because it's a foregone conclusion. They're going to win their division. So with Indianapolis and the Broncos, and the Broncos win the West. Indianapolis wins their division. Either the Steelers or the Bengals or the Jaguars are going to win that division.
Well, the Bengals and the Steelers.
Right.
Jaguars
Bengals
are going to finish second. Indianapolis.
One of those 2 teams. Jaguars are going to be a wild card. But the Chargers and Chiefs.
Maybe.
The reality is 3 of those teams are not.
Take a look at that list and tell me how many teams the Patriots have played thus far and how they've made out against that list.
1-3.
Pittsburgh.
1-3. They've beaten Pittsburgh, lost to Denver, lost to the Chargers, and lost to the Chiefs.
At Indianapolis, it's not on the list.
And Indianapolis is the other one. So they're 1-4 against playoff teams that most likely would be in the playoffs.
There's your difference. This time last year, when this team was gearing up for the playoffs, we talked about how hardened they were going to be because of the win-loss schedule of their opponents. It's different this year. They're losing against teams like this. Last year, they were beating teams with winning records when it was Indianapolis playing that soft schedule. And we're like, all right, this team's going to be ready for the playoffs, where Indy's not. They're going to be, resting guys the same way that the Philadelphia Eagles did. What happened? Both those teams paid for it in the end.
But do you have a lot of faith in teams like the Chargers, even the Chiefs, and maybe even Cincinnati in the playoffs? Those teams are not very well. The tests that they've had in the playoffs haven't gone very well for them. And even Pittsburgh is a team that finds a way to lose in the playoffs. So again, the idea is to get to the playoffs playing better football than you're playing right now. Once you do that, then you never know what's going to happen one game. That's the thing that the Patriots have to look forward to, not the fact that they're losing to these playoff teams, but the fact that they can do some damage once they get there.
But gentlemen, let's be realistic. There's no help on the way. What they have is what they have.
Well, there is on offense, but there isn't on defense. That's the problem.
Look, guys coming back from and getting help.
Corey Dillon, Matt Light, Kevin Falk could help this team through December, towards the end. Like when Steve's
no help on the way in that defensive
side. But they'll need less help because of the schedule that they have in the next 5 weeks.
Brooks Bollinger.
They can find a way to beat these teams, even if none of those guys come back.
Granted, I totally agree with you, Steve. But we're talking about when it really counts, when it's one and done, when you're in that playoff situation. There's no help on the way.
Tell me if this team wins 5 in a row, you're not going to be more optimistic? If this team goes into the playoffs at 11-5, you're going to absolutely be more optimistic.
You're playing a first weekend game in January
who have they
in
stopped
Foxborough.
thus far? What evidence do you have that this team can stop any quality team on defense?
I'm not concerned about evidence. What I saw today was a red zone defense, which if you look back at the 2001 season when they won the Super Bowl, they were 26th overall in defense, but number 3 in the league in the red zone defense. You play red zone defense like they did today, much better red zone defense.
And don't turn it over 4 times.
And don't turn the ball over and have an offense that starts putting some points on the board.
And out.
Then you have a chance. I'm not telling you that this defense is going to get that much better. The personnel is going to remain the same. But statistically, it will get a little bit better because they're playing some poor offenses. All of a sudden, you start playing with a little more confidence. That's what you need sometimes in this situation. This team might not believe in themselves as much as they should. Get a few wins under your belt. Put 3, 4, 5 wins together. Start playing with confidence. Start remembering that you are the Super Bowl champions and see what you can do in the playoffs.
You need that swagger.
Before we take a break and before we talk about that swagger, let's talk about the disturbing thing that it wasn't their secondary that they couldn't deal with today. It was the running game of Kansas City. It was Larry Johnson that they couldn't stop today, and everything seemed to spin off of that.
Larry Johnson has eaten up a lot of teams in the last 5 or 6 games, and with Willie Rofe coming back, that makes that offensive line even that much better. They are as big as anybody on the offensive line, Kansas City is, but they also move. You notice they were pulling guys left and right and trapping guys here and there, and then Larry Johnson, the perfect running back for that type of situation.
He's running 4 yards right there before Brewski even dives in and gets a hand on him.
But you're right, but again, we're not.
What's the hole here?
We're talking about
hat on the hat.
We're talking about a team that's going to have to win games differently than they've won them for the past 2 Super Bowls. They're going to have to win them like they won in 2001.
Okay, break time. We'll be back. Player of the game time. You can vote. CBS4Boston.com and player of the game. Click on give us a vote. We'll find out where we're going. And, you know, we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about, actually, there were some bright moments. The third quarter drive by the Patriots when their offense finally did get it into gear, but 4 interceptions killed them today. In fact, they were pretty close to getting right back in this ball game. 2 late interceptions killed them.
No Dunkin' Donuts Dash for Daylight today. The Patriots did not return a punt or kickoff for a touchdown today, meaning Craig Avalone of Boston doesn't win the trip to see the Pats play the Jets, but will still receive a Dunkin' Donuts gift pack. Log on to UPN38.com to find out how you can enter next week's Dunkin' Donuts Dash for Daylight. Welcome back to New England Ford Patriots 5th quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
Okay, AFC East, you know, thank goodness for mediocrity, and certainly the East is presenting that in spades this year. Buffalo losing today. Miami's playing this afternoon at 4 o'clock game.
They're leading Oakland, Bob, 7-0 early in that game in Oakland.
Patriots will host them on New Year's Day that weekend back here. But there you go. There's the situation. Now let's take a look at the highlights and how it all worked out today. 3 phrases. First of all, get the ball on the road, 3 and out. And that's exactly what happened. They got the ball. They're on the road and 3 and out after a very emotional week for their head coach, Bill Belichick, back on the sidelines. And after that 3 and out, KC came out firing.
Yeah, and here's Trent Green going to Eddie Kennison for 42 yards. And Asante Samuel has played lousy football for this team all year as far as I'm concerned. And again, all these excuses about the injuries are all well and good, but this is a guy that needs to pick up his game. I think he's playing horrible football.
I think he's playing quite poorly, but that was an absolute perfect pass by Trent Green. He actually had pretty good coverage, but you got to be able to make that play.
Well, there's Larry Johnson making it 7-0, and it looked pretty easy because the Kansas City, first time having the ball, marched right down the field just like that. Next Patriot possession, and then once again disaster strikes. They just can't get anything going.
Well, Brady had a penchant for throwing a high sailing ball today, and that hurt him on several occasions. This one intended for Deion Branch, the first pick by Greg Wesley, and it set up Kansas City in good shape. And here's my question to my friend Mr. Diossi. All week long I read about Tony Gonzalez this and Tony Gonzalez that. You're a defensive guy, Steve. You're in the meetings. How can this guy be as open as he was, particularly early in the ballgame?
Because they've got so many other defensive backs to worry about, and early on in the game they went to their wide receivers. Now all of a sudden your safeties are cognizant of the wide receivers more so than the tight end, and then Tony Gonzalez can kill you.
And they gave up a field goal, so they held there, but then once again disaster strikes. Another high ball, this one to Troy Brown.
Yeah, this was certainly one that sailed again on Brady. Tom had him wide open. That ball got away from Brady, as you'll see here. Troy Brown would later catch his 500th ball as a Patriot, but this was a problem Tom had today, the high ball. And the combination of obligatory bad defense and a bad game by Brady, that combination, Bob, adds up to a lethal loss.
So inside the red zone, again, the Patriot defense seems to have it taken care of, because they did hold Kansas City to 3 field goals in the first half inside the red zone.
That was a good job on that sequence.
Larry Izzo and Mike Vrabel made a great play on that one.
Next possession, Brady to Troy Brown for 25 yards, and as Bob mentioned, his 500th career catch.
Receiver has his 500th career.
So you'll see it a couple more times, and then you'll be able to see the Patriots once again will have to settle for a field goal after a promising drive was cut short.
And here's a guy, Troy Brown, that has not been as productive in past years. You wonder if injuries are catching up to him.
Well, injuries, age, and the emergence of guys like Deion Branch and David Givens, and the tight ends.
Where's Ben Watson? Well, he's not that tall. Overthrew him again.
Another high ball. Tom knows it. Goes out grumbling. Here's the sequence that really, I think, burned me, Steve. To watch them, the defense was rested at this point. They had driven the field for a field goal. You say, now's the time to knuckle under, keep them out of there, but yet they drove for a field goal.
And they ran the same play twice in a row, exact same play for big yardage.
Brady sacked by Jared Allen.
That was a veteran taking advantage of a rookie in a loud situation. He got off the ball so much quicker than Cager was allowed to handle or able to handle.
And Bob, here's another sequence late in the first half. Kansas City, to me, almost trying to run out the clock here with safe little draws and screens. They still couldn't stop them. Here's Larry Johnson on a screen, 30 yards of real estate, and that's going to help set up Lawrence Tynes' fourth field goal of the quarter. This was a 47-yard job. And even when it looked to me like Kansas City was more than willing to go off the field, they scored another 3, and at this point, they'd be on their way.
That's a typical play of offenses in that situation, to either run a draw or screen and see if it works.
It was a play of the game that we picked because it gave them their 26-3 lead, and it was a huge hole to dig out of it. The Patriots really did have a shot at digging out of it. They just couldn't get it done, and that was, Ellis Hobbs and Michael Stone both burned on that play.
It looked like Stone was supposed to have help over the top because immediately Hobbs jumped underneath the receiver. Just a total mix-up and a stupid play.
All right, a little comeback here, 26-10. They tried to go for 2 and it wouldn't work, and then they got a break. They got a turnover here, just when they needed it the most.
Again, after the Chiefs drove the length of the field, but this is the kind of play the Patriots desperately needed in this game. They finally got it. I believe Seymour was at the bottom of that pile, crowbarring that ball free. That set them up now. You're down by a couple of scores. There's Seymour, 93, in there, going for the ball, wrestling it out of there, and the Patriots would get a key turnover, and that would set up a sequence, Bob, that would lead to another touchdown.
And you saw some pretty good late aggressive defensive play by the Patriots in the fourth quarter also.
Tim Dwight came up big in this game today. He was very present with the injuries. Tim Dwight was kind of a go-to guy, 20 yards, first and goal for the Pats, and then Christian Fourier gets his first touchdown of the year.
Back line, this is a play we've seen years and years and years from this club, and now it's a 26-16 ball game. They went for 2 and failed, but they're still 10 points down and time on the clock, but now one mistake could be lethal.
And not only was this the first, it was the first of 2 that were lethal. Even after that mistake, they still had a shot.
That was a bad throw.
The most overthrown ball I think I've seen Tom Brady throw in any clutch situation. Ooh. That was nowhere near in the area to be caught. I don't know if he was trying to drill it in between coverage and it got away from him. Like Zoe said, sometimes that wet football gets away from a quarterback. But again, he turned Wesley from a average player into an all-pro player with 3 interceptions.
And then, of course, this one was to Tim Dwight. This was bobbled quite a bit. And still, they had it. If they make a completion there, they're still in this game.
Well, you're in an onside kick situation now. You're inside of 2 minutes. If you score here, you're down 3. You go for the onside, and maybe you get lucky. But Dwight, who I thought played a nice game for New England today, returning kickoffs and filling in for the injured David Givens, had that one bobble off his fingertips, and that cemented the win for Mr. Dick Vermeil and his Kansas City Chiefs. And as Steve Diossi pointed out at the top of the show, certainly the incentive was there for the Kansas City Chiefs, Bob. They're involved in this multi-team battle for a wild card spot. The Patriots know, even as poorly as they played, that they can just breathe and get in. But I don't think that makes anybody feel any good right now about this team. I respect Steve's opinion, but to me, you're talking pie in the sky if you think all of a sudden, come playoff time, this team's going to do any damage unless they can suddenly improve that defense, Steve.
Part of defense, and a big part of defense, is confidence. Playing with confidence, playing with a swagger, going after guys the right way. You win 5 games in a row, you're going up against some offenses that aren't up to snuff, aren't near what Kansas City is. You go and get some confidence by beating these teams. Then you have the opportunity to do some damage in the playoffs. Right now, this defense is on its heels. They are sitting back and waiting for things to happen instead of making things happen. You're up against some offenses in the next 5 games that you can make things happen against. You've got to get the confidence back before you can start thinking about winning in the playoffs.
Okay, we're going to take a break, come back with your voting results on the player of the game. So stay with us. 5th quarter right here on CBS 4 continues. Patriots lose this one 26-16.
Welcome back to New England Ford Patriots 5th quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England. Here's the way you voted. Tim Dwight, player of the game, and no disagreements
On our panel, Tim Dwight seems like a touchdown waiting to happen every time he touches the ball on a kickoff or punt return. Gentlemen, closing thoughts here, and we have a little Tim Dwight video for you today.
Well, Tim Dwight deserved it. He's a tough player, but again, you win player of the game with a 20% majority vote. It's amazing. The Patriots just didn't show up today. Offensively, defensively, not enough people stepped up making plays, and when they did make a few plays, it was too late finally, and they followed it up with lousy.
All right, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but in my view, I don't take Brady off the hook. Don't get me wrong, Bob, but I think Tom has been personally responsible in many ways for them winning as many games as they have this year. Today we found out when Tom Brady is not at its best, they have no shot to win. So as we go down the stretch, as Brady goes, so go the Patriots, because the other guy, Eric Mangini to me has been off the hook, the defensive coordinator. Romeo Crennel's now coaching in Cleveland, and granted, we've talked ad nauseum about the injuries, but there's more to it than that, Steve, I think. And this guy has gotten a free pass from people, and this defense, again, these statistics, you look at them, they've played good teams, yeah, but they're Houston-like, they're San Francisco-like.
They're not playing with any aggressiveness. They're waiting for things to happen. They're looking around to see who's going to make the play. Rodney Harrison was the guy, and Teddy Bruschi was the guy that always stepped up to make the play. Now everybody's waiting around to see who else is going to make the play or see who else is going to make the big hit. You just can't play defense like that. You've got to fire at people. You've got to take your chances. You've got to take your shots. And the problem is it just keeps getting worse. You keep giving up these yardage. You keep giving up these scores. It gets worse, and your confidence goes down. And there's a very, very difficult cycle to break out of in that situation.
All right, you guys. Patriots fall to 6-5. They lose to Kansas City, 26-16. They play at home against the Jets. Then it's in Buffalo. Here's what's going on tonight in Sports Final. We'll recap this one. We'll hear from Roosevelt Colvin, and of course, Red Sox having a huge week. Who needs a general manager when you've put the rest of baseball back on its heels? Now trying to play catch up and determining everything that's going on in the free agent market.
They have a general manager, Larry Lucchino, right?
There you go. Whatever it takes, right. Absolutely. Next Sunday, New England Ford game day, 4:15. Jets and Patriots, games on 4, and then the fifth quarter on UPN 38 right after the game. Thank you very much. For Bob Newmeyer, Steve Diassi, Scott Solak, and our crew in Kansas City, I'm Bob Lobel. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you for watching New England Ford Patriots fifth quarter.